This is the Awake Athlete Podcast. I'm Jessica Mikowski, mindset coach, implant-powered athlete on a mission to guide all who are ready to great heights in sports performance and life. Through the 10,000-foot view, I share teachings of living awake with the sole purpose that we all realize our innate power to be the masters of our minds. Welcome to the Awake Athlete Podcast, Season 5, The Interviews. Today, I'm sitting down with yogi triathlete, coached athlete Melissa Adams. Melissa's been on the team now for a few years, coached by our master coach, BJ, and has joined me on Yoga Retreat, a Yoga Adventure, which are very different experiences for sure, and also has joined us here in Carlsbad, California for our annual Yogi Triathlete training camp that we hold over MLK weekend. Melissa is an incredible human who is an amazing support system for others, and through mindset, I'm going to assume, is also learning to do that for herself as mindful training, racing, and living trends us towards the ultimate development of self. I love this woman, truly, and I haven't seen her since baggage claim in LAX after returning from an otherworldly expedition in Patagonia, Chile earlier this year. So, Melissa, amazing to see you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to dive right in because these are just nice short form drops for people. And let's just dive right in with like what role mindset plays for you or just athletes in general in training, racing, and life. How important is it?
That's really important. I think that for me, mindset training has really opened up just possibility. Maybe before I started doing mindset training, I thought I knew who I was. And there was a point that I was trying to, or a place that I was trying to get to. But through doing mindset training, what I've realized is that there's not a particular place for me to arrive. So there's not one particular goal. It's really just about being open to possibility. And so just allowing things to come in, waking up every day and just being open to whatever the day is going to bring, whatever opportunity might come, and just allowing myself to be fluid. And as a recovering perfectionist, allowing that fluidity it's really challenging, but every day I'm working on it.
Yeah, because that perfectionism is like we have a plan for how it's going to go, right? We have it all ordered up in our brain about how, maybe a day is going to go or a training block's going to go, but life just throws you curveballs and brick walls and obstacles along the way. And that flexibility is everything, I think, to really, like, we could just boil it down to our happiness, but also I think success, because you're building resilience the whole time. And it really is guiding you in a way, hindsight being 2020, it always guides you in a way when you look back, you're like, yeah, that made sense. So mindset looks different for everyone. And you're on our team and it looks different for everyone on the team. Some people meditate, some people don't. Some people take a breath, some people don't. Like, it just, what does it look like for you? Like, what has been kind of the core of what it means to carry this mindset training, like through your day and through your training and racing?
I think for me, mindset training really can be embodied in one word, and that's pause. Take a pause in the morning and meditate. Or sometimes the pause in the morning might just be a deep breath. The pause in the pause also is journaling. And sometimes that might happen first thing in the morning. Sometimes it might happen randomly during the day on a phone in my notes app. Sometimes it might happen on a Post-it. Really just taking a pause between a thought and an action. Allowing myself, and I'm really stressing that, like allowing, because again, that perfectionism is, it's just caused me, and not in an entirely negative way, just to be so driven that it's hard for me to take a break. And what the mindfulness and this mindset has taught me is just to take a pause before I say something, before I respond to something, before I take my next action. And it's become so incredibly powerful, both in my personal life, in my relationships, in my work life, in my training life, in so many different ways. I feel like I'm becoming more powerful every day.
The pause. How do you feel like you started to learn about that pause? Like earlier in your life, was there pause? Has it been something that's always been with you, or just really cultivated and over whatever last decade, 5 years, 2 years?
Yeah, it wasn't always with me at all. I was very impulsive, very reactionary. Probably until maybe 10 years ago is when I really started to work on it. And there was this shift that happened. I had come out of one relationship and I was just starting to see someone new. And I had had this idea for a long time that I wanted to make these things that I eventually started to call donation bags, where in my job, I would encounter people who were unhoused or people who maybe just needed a little helping hand, a little help, a little love, really. And so I really wanted to make these bags to have food and water and even some positive quotes in there on pieces of paper or a card or socks or something. And I was always just fearful. I was fearful that people would judge me. I was fearful that people might think I was just doing it for attention or that in some way it was negative. And at some point, I shared this idea with this new friend that I'd made, and she was encouraging. And she gave me just enough encouragement and support to just sort of open my mind up just enough for me to realize that I needed to start doing what was on my heart and just start being authentic. And, just to take that pause, think about what I'm feeling and what I want and how I want to be in the world and acknowledge it. Because previously I would feel it, but didn't pause. And so I would feel it and just move right through it. But being able to feel it, pause for a moment to think, how can I live and how can I act in accordance with this feeling, has just changed everything for me.
Yeah. And people might think like, oh, pause. Yeah, that sounds great. Well, she must have a lot of time to pause. So can you fill people in on what your profession is? And yeah, let's just start there. What is your profession? What do you do for work?
So I am an attorney and I own a criminal defense, a law firm that focuses on criminal defense.
And you work a lot. I just know that because I know you. You're very dedicated to what you do. How do you make the time for your training when I know how dedicated you are to your clients, to your practice, your partner, your wife? How do you make that time? Because you could easily just say, I have no time, and just get buried in what you're doing because you are so driven.
Sure. I think there's a few different things. So number one, priorities. We have the time. Everyone, I think, has the time. Certainly I do. How much time are you spending sitting on the couch drinking your coffee, doing nothing else? How much time are you spending mindlessly scrolling some social media app or YouTube? Also identifying things that can be outsourced something as simple as I've noticed that vacuuming my house really aggravates my back. And I'm just at a point in life where that I can outsource that. I can have someone come and do that. And that is going to open up a couple hours on a weekend. So 3 hours that I might spend cleaning the house on a weekend, I can outsource that to someone else. And so really just identifying the priorities. And in this case, in mindset training has to be a priority because it allows me to be my best self at home, my best self at work, and my best self for myself, which is arguably the most important.
Mm. Have you noticed a trickle effect, either work, clients, your wife, your home life, friends, a trickle effect of what you've been practicing, developing this, where either they notice something or you're seeing it now in them?
I have. I think one thing that we can all fall into sort of this trap of getting a little bit too preachy. And so I really try not to do that. I don't think people find that to be really helpful. And so really it's sort of just living that demonstration. And so demonstrating what it looks like to take a pause, what it looks like to be engaged in maybe a heated conversation, and to be able to say, you know what, I'm just going to need to take a minute. I need to step out and just take a breath. And that's okay. You have to do what you need, again, to be your best self. And you're the only person that can identify that. And so it's something that I do. I go to court all the time. So it's something that I do while I'm in court. If I need a minute, I ask for it. And if people give that to you. If I'm in, some sort of an emotional conversation with a client, same thing. It's okay to ask, I'm going to just step out for a second, just take a breath. And I know that if I allow myself to get too emotional or too heightened, I know what I need, and I know it's that breath, and I'm going to give that to myself because I want to be showing up as sort of the best that I am. And what I've noticed is that after spending time with certain clients, I've met with them numerous times, I see them doing these things or talking about them. I'm really open with clients, especially about doing yoga or training for triathlon, engaging in different types of mindset training. An example is I spoke with a client the other day about Al-Anon, going to Al-Anon meetings. It was a client's family that came in with him, and they were just they were hurting. I mean, as soon as I had everyone sit down in a room, I could just feel the hurt. And rather than pretend it wasn't there, I said to them, there's a lot of hurt in this room right now. Let's talk about that. I know you think you came in here to talk about a DUI allegation, but we're going to talk about a lot more than that while you're here. Because if I'm not helping you underneath all of that, if I'm not helping you identify what brought you here and how you can do things differently, then I'm not being as successful as I can be.
Yeah. I really think all of that, like getting under the surface like that, and this ability to do it, this becoming more mindful, having that pause, it's like it makes these real and true topics that are truly the source of so much dis-ease in family units and within individuals. It makes it so much easier and like normal just to approach a conversation like that. Like, hold on, there's hurt in the room, like, whoa, they must have been like blown away, because so much of our society stays on the surface, right? Because we don't know how to go underneath and get down to that. We know when we're trying to get through the surf in the ocean, we have to get down, to the sand. We have to touch the earth when a wave is breaking, or we're going to get caught up in all the chaos on the surface. So we go to that calmness. And I think, taking those breaths, whether we call it breath work or meditation, or it's just taking time to journal in quiet, that we do touch that calm part of us. And then so much more opens, and it's just amazing. And to me, and I want to hear your feedback on this, but to me, when I have conversations like that, or I see something that's so obvious to me, but nobody's talking about it, and I go in with the suggestion that we have a conversation about it, it's like people are like, oh my, it's like relief, like, oh my God, yes, let's talk about this, literally this elephant in the room, because if that elephant isn't tended to, nothing's going to change. Do you feel that like people are receptive to it, or like they just feel kind of like, oh my God, like, thank you for bringing that up?
They're usually really receptive. I try to forewarn people at the beginning of a meeting with a client, for example, like whatever you think that a criminal defense attorney does is going to probably be a little bit different than what you're going to experience here, because I'm not just here to solve your criminal case. Like, I have more that I can share and more that I can give. And I want you to be better when you leave here than you were when you got here. And that isn't, not better in the sense of, a better job or making more money, but more authentic, helping you identify the things that are hurting within you and helping you identify the resources that you can take advantage of so that you're feeling better.
Yeah. And it's, early on in just being mindful in my own life, which I resisted for so long, like meditation, because I didn't want to look at what was going on under the surface. But when I did, I mean, it was like an erupting volcano. It was chaos. It was crazy. But it was also like, once you look at it, it was just like, it's me and me. Like, what is so scary about me that I can't look at it? So I love that you're just bringing that. And I know you have such a profound effect on people's lives. And of course, you're not changing anything. They have to change it themselves, but just opening up those conversations is so important. So you have been to our training camps, you have been on yoga retreat, and you have been on yoga adventure. And maybe specifically like the adventure, I just think the yoga adventures are such an incredible fit for athletes because we're active and, but we're still doing yoga and we're still having, at least in our group, like I felt like we were still having like some really quality conversations along the way. But there's a lot of obstacles to get, in the mind to get to Patagonia, Chile, for example. So what would you say to somebody who is like, yeah, I would love to go on a retreat? Like you talked about in court, like you take yourself out. And so you've also done that. You've taken yourself out of your everyday life through going on retreat, coming to training camp, going on an adventure. Somebody who's like, oh, I would love to do that, but, because there's always 100 reasons to say no. So what's the value of that?
I think there's 100 reasons to say no, but there's one really valid reason to say yes. And that's you. Just, being able to do what is good for you as an individual. And I think as a person, when you feel drawn towards a trip like that, there is something in you that needs that. And you have to feed that part of you. I think for me, going to Patagonia, it's feeding my soul still every day. And we've been back for 3 months, and it will feed my soul for some amount of time past today. And it changes you when you go out and you see the world and you have an adventure. And I realized that a long while ago. I did a study abroad while I was in law school, and it changed the entire trajectory of my life. It opened up the entire United States to me. I went to law school and grew up on the East Coast. And I came back from that study abroad. I decided I was moving to California. I had never been west of the Mississippi. I rented an apartment on Craigslist, and I packed my car and I drove from Boston to San Diego because that's what that trip gave me. And Patagonia or the Galapagos or Sicily, these places are no different. And if you feel called to go to a place like this, make it happen. The other thing I would say is zero interest credit card. Because, for me, that was really the only drawback initially was, wow, this is going to be my wife and I both went. So it was a fairly expensive adventure, but we made it happen. And I don't have 1 ounce of regret.
Yeah. Yeah. Yogi Triathlete exists because of 0% financing.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is that people should know is, if you're nervous or you're, of course, nervousness, BJ would say, you would say nervousness and excitement are coming from the same place. It kind of reminds me of anxiety. It's like nervousness and excitement mixed together. Normal feelings, I think, when you're going on an adventure or you're going out of the country and not quite knowing what to expect or how exactly to plan. But there's also just a trust in the process, trust in you as the leader, trust in the company, the travel yogi that you're working with that's putting it on. People have thought of everything, and you're going to be taken care of. And the other people that are on the trip who are sort of feeling that same calling that you're feeling, they've got your back too. It's okay that you don't know them yet. If you need another long sleeve shirt, somebody's going to have one. If you have wet socks, somebody's going to have dry socks. Like everything is going to work itself out, and it's going to be exactly what you need. And so, yeah, I would say go all in.
I love it. Go all in. Perfect. We're going to end on that. Go all in. Go all in to whatever it is that's calling you. Like, don't deny those callings, man. That whole Patagonia trip is, that river called me. That was not on my plan. I I actually even looked at that when I was looking at destinations, and I thought, oh, that one's a little scary. I'll just pass that one over. And then it came back to me, and I was asked to take it over. And now I'm going back because, like you said, that trip and that river, it's in my blood now. It feeds your soul. Yeah, for sure. So if you are called to whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a retreat with me, like anything that it is, a career switch or sitting down and taking those 5 breaths to start a mindset training journey, like follow those callings. They are real and they are true and they are there for you. So thanks so much, Melissa. This has been awesome, as I expected it to be. So appreciate your time. And I can't wait to launch this out to the world for everyone to get a taste of you. I am really blessed to have you in my life.
You're very welcome. Go all in.
Are the messages in this podcast resonating with you? Is there a spark that has been flamed and a part of you that is craving more? Get over to yogitriathlete.com and discover how we are forging a new breed of athlete through one-on-one coaching, our squad community, and once-in-a-lifetime adventures to some of the most extraordinary places on earth. Being a member of Yogi Triathlete means you will be awake and ready for all that comes your way. So head over there now, because life waits for no one. So what are you waiting for?